All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining. We're excited to welcome you to this webinar on securing AI in financial services, compliance, and security collaboration. We'll make time for questions a little bit later, but for now, I will hand it over to your presenter, Shyam P, Director, Information Security at Celestial Systems. Shyam, over to you.
Thank you, Cyril. Thanks, everyone, for joining this seminar. Good day, good afternoon, probably good morning, uh, based on where you stand. Okay, just quick introduction. Anyway, Cyril gave. I do have a little over 2 decades of experience, which covers financial sector, healthcare industry, and all. Some of the previous companies are IBM and Kyndryl. I think pretty much that's it from my side. Let's go through the agenda. Introduction to AI in financial services is one. Key challenges in AI deployment. The role of internal compliance and security teams. We will touch base how collaboratively framework for AI deployment, risk management and compliance consideration. Then definitely a best practice for AI governance. We will touch base on conclusions and recommendation. Then later we will have Q&A. Okay. Shall we give 1 more minute? Okay. All right. So AI in financial services. So just give me a second. Yeah. Most of these areas are already exist in one or the other form and within the financial sectors. For example, real-time fraud detection was there already. Enhanced credit risk management was there. Personalized customer experience was there. Operational efficiency, regulatory compliance, cost reduction, scalability, productivity analytics for decision making. So all these are there, but AI has enhanced existing all these services, enabling them to make decision more robustly and swiftly. That's where the AI comes in picture. Apart from this, there are many more use cases. Let's look at the couple of them. Okay. Uh, if we look at the fraud detection, there are many phases how the AI system can work. During data collection, the AI system gathers vast amount of data, precisely, the transaction data, and uh, it analyzes for the patterns. Once the data is collected, then it analyzes the pattern. Then it gives to a machine learning algorithm for identifying suspicious activity and flag them as unusual patterns. Definitely, the real-time monitoring system will be there, which will feed to that, and that will alert the requesting the stakeholders. So that helps them to mitigate in advance. That is one of the use cases. Let's look at I think risk management is another use case where again data aggregation happens. Ideally, AI collects vast amount of data from probably uh, economic indicators or company financial things, market trends, many more places. There are many sources where it can collect the data. Then again it fits into predictive modeling. What happens in predictive modeling? Machine learning algorithm again creates a model. These algorithms will predict and for the potential market movements, and it predicts the risk. Again, that fit into a real-time monitoring system which will notify the stakeholders. Right. This is how the AI can come in picture. So overall, AI is consistently helping the financial service industries, and it is empowering organization for efficient strategic decision making. Right. Overall, if we look at organization needs to secure and compliant against all regulatory requirements. These are all some of the use cases where we can see AI is more helpful than the traditional way of doing all these things. Okay, let's look at the recent survey done by one of the ISMG company. They did a survey through top CISOs and STMs. STMs are security decision makers, showing the concerns with generative AI. Okay, all right. So the one of the big concern STMs or CISOs are showing is, 82% of them are concerning about data protection, that is leakage and risk for data privacy and many more stuff. Uh, if you look at the other side, is 73% they feel that wrongful process, that is inaccurate outputs. Uh, AI is in dynamic, AI is evolving, but they have a concerns of whether AI is giving right output or not, or misunderstanding of the process. So there's one more concern, and 60% feel that threat actors are the another major concerns, like exposure to confidential information, sensitive information, or there are vulnerability and distortions, which causes the model to behave differently. Uh, Then again, 57% they say, bias ethics. Definitely, this is one of the major concerns on the reputational, possible enormous harmful or biased or distressing output where the AI is producing. Since it is evolving again. Definitely, 55% of them are showing the concerns on legal and regulatory. Let's look at the key challenges. So there are many key challenges as of now, since AI is evolving by itself, and there are many AI products, tools are coming out. But let's look at few of the challenges, like integration complexity, or high implementation cost, or data quality issues. Lack of skilled workforce is one of the major challenge in this year, in this the AI age. Security is definitely a challenge. Resistance to change is one more biggest challenge, where sometimes the employees or someone feel that AI may take over the jobs. Those are the some of the challenges. Definitely, compliance and regulatory concerns are another big challenge. Out of this, let's look at, if we look at the integration complexity, data privacy and security is one of the big challenge, and AI model security and how adversarial attacks happens on financial service or any of those things is one of the big challenge. And if we look at the lack of skilled workforce, as I stated earlier, that that gives a difficulty to identify and mitigate threats, since they have a lack of skill to understand how the AI works and all. That again leads to delay in incident response. Again, that subset is compliance failure is one more challenge. Uh, Again, if we look at regulatory and compliance, there are many regulatory and compliances presence in right now, industry specific, probably GDPR, maybe PCI DSS, or maybe 27001. All those adhering to all these regulations is one more the big challenge. High implementation cost. Let's look at there are a couple of challenges. One is initial investment, ongoing operational cost, in initial investment, maybe infrastructure cost, maybe AI tool and platform cost, which are growing more and more nowadays. Operational cost is upgrading all those infrastructure, uh, putting effort for developing the skills for operational costs. So those are all the challenges. I will not touch base everything, but these are all some of the key challenges. Again, if we look at the security risk, emerging threats and vulnerabilities, biggest challenge, because uh, AI is being used on both sides. One is at the right side, the other one is the opposite. Threat actors or hackers are also using AI. So these are all again emerging things which we need to look at, and it definitely poses a challenge there. Privacy violation is one more big challenge. Okay, yeah. So let's come back to the core discussion. How do we consider, or what are all the key consideration on internal compliance and security teams? Before I touch base on all this, just imagine, we are customizing a car, and part of the customization, we are upgrading the engine from the current engine to powerful engine. Once we replace that, will car perform better? No, because rest of the parts remains same, right? So same, likewise, when we introduce AI, then the ecosystem has to be upgraded likewise. Otherwise, you have a AI, but Other ecosystems are downgraded one, then it will not match. So having said, skill is the biggest concern over there. When I say skill, maybe it's administrative skill or technical skills. Technical skills like data security, which is will be there. But however, AI thrives on data, right? So definitely, data security skill is much more important. So another one is data governance. How do we do data protection? And how do we do secure data storage? All those skills are needed. Identity access management is a one big skill required. How do we give authentication, authorization, who access AI, ML models and algorithms, all those things. And probably, if we look at the specific to AI skills, model security is one, model explainability is one, data privacy in AI is a tricky and is most important a skill to consider. Uh, if we look at just in depth in that, differential privacy is one, and federated learning is another one. Other than that, how do we do secure model deployment? That is one more skill. Threat detection for AI is one more skill needs to consider. Uh, Overall, we have AI now. Let's understand if we are hosting it on a cloud. So definitely cloud comes in picture. By design, cloud itself has a huge domain. So cloud security is one more at most important key consideration. How do we secure landmarks? How do we secure zones? How do we implement, the best practices in cloud? Majorly on how do we address the misconfiguration? All these skills should be developed within your internal compliance and security team. Let's look at the other side. If everything, assuming everything is developed within the company, these are all the skills needed. But at times, some companies may outsource all these. So definitely, someone needs to evaluate whether all these skills are there with the outsourced company or not. That is something someone has to check. If I want to touch base on some of the other thing, ML platform is something uh, definitely have to be a key consideration. Identity access management again in cloud is a key concern. Analytical skills, threat intelligence, threat detections, risk assessment. All these skills definitely need within the internal compliance and security teams. Uh, Apart from this, soft skill is one more because they will work with the different teams, probably DevOps, probably stakeholders, and also the ML ops or data scientists, data engineers, all those things. So they need to have a soft skill and communication skills, so uh, they can communicate very clearly. So other than that, there are few certifications around it, but each provider has their own AI related certifications. Azure has its own data scientist and AI certification. Similarly, AWS and GCP. Apart from this, since everything is thriving with the data, then there is something called certified data privacy certifications. Few of them I'm listing out here. There are many which may be considered as a key consideration for skill development. And if we look at the role specific, then data security engineer is one more, ML engineer, AI engineer specialist. All these are skills needs to be developed. Okay, I think those are all the some of the skills related to internal compliance and security. If we look at how do we establish guidelines for data governance and privacy, the foremost and the most important part is to establish your AI policy. When we say AI policy, that should in conjunction with your existing information security policy, or if you have a GDPR, then you might have all those policies. It should get aligned to the organizational main security policies. Then what it should contain again, the AI security policy should have data governance structure within that roles and responsibilities, and policy framework, how data classification done, how compliance works or compliance standards, and data privacy and security policy contains how do we do data minimization. All these are some of the consideration has to be done. Of course, access management is one more. a key area where the governance guidelines should cover. Data lifecycle management is one more. These are all the few key consideration within the data privacy and governance. Let's look at some of the collaborating effort with DevOps. If something is developed within the organization, let's assume AI services being developed, then there will be developers, there will be DevOps, there will be ML ops, AI ops. All these teams will jointly work together on internal security and compliance. Probably, we call it them as a DevSecOps team, right? So they should uh, create a maturity model. How do we elevate from maturity 1 to maturity 4, right? So probably, they will work under the shift left model where early detection of vulnerabilities and fix early stages only, rather than we wait till end and fix them. Those are all the key considerations within the DevOps or ML ops. Uh, if we look at little granular, what the DevSecOps team should understand how DevOps principle works, specifically CI/CD, and the infrastructure as a code, compliance as a code. Compliance as code plays a major role, so they can integrate during their development and during the deployment as well. Likewise, ML ops for optimization of machine learning things. AI ops is another one where it enhances operations and productivity. These are all the key consideration. Again, within this collaboration is definitely a key consideration. I think need to be looked at. Uh, let's look at the other domain, pen test. Pen test or red team. If we are developing in-house penetration testing team or red team, or maybe AI-powered cybersecurity or security operations center, they should get elevated with the skills and knowledge. They should have fundamental knowledge on AI, ML, and data, so that they can do much more better in terms of attack vectors, in terms of threat intelligence. Probably, they can use a multi-area attack, right? And and also they should focus on how data modeling is done, how they can do threat modeling surrounding to AI. Those are all the key consideration or the skills they need. Definitely, if it is outsourced, sometimes on a third-party pen test, then one should look at whether all those third-party pen testers are posing all these uh, required skills, so that we are confident they are doing it in better way. Data security experts are one which can feed into penetration testing, and they can do data security stuffs over there. Knowledge of secure deployment is another key consideration within the penetration testing area. Okay, let's look at the continuous monitoring of audit AI systems. So continuous monitoring is one of the crucial key consideration, because this is where everything comes live. When you ingest a log, let's take a step back. Assume you have a security operations center and you have a traditional SIEM, and you are developing AI services or AI application. Then you need to elevate all your stock components so that they can detect all AI related vulnerabilities, threats, all those things. So once everything is fed to those systems, and then the monitoring comes in picture. Regular continuous monitoring will help them to mitigate some of the attacks well in advance. It's like AI for security or security for AI, both comes in picture. And data monitoring is another one of the aspects. So far, ideally infrastructure monitoring is done, uh, then application monitoring is done, but data monitoring is crucial, because a lot of times AI feeds with a lot of data, then the model is gets developed. So data monitoring plays a crucial role within the monitoring system. So these are all the key consideration where internal compliance and security team should have. Let's look at some of the other consideration. I'm going little deeper into risk management and compliance. There are many risk management and compliance, but the core component is policy, process, procedures. All these are the fundamental components of risk management and compliance. But if we look at some of the framework, NIST has its own AI risk management framework. I think ISO IEC 23894 2023 has AI guidance on risk management, or EU AI Act. Probably there is one more is being dropped, or it is almost in the verge of completion, is ISO IEC 42001 2023, which talks about AI management systems. Overall, the organization should look at either one of these, or they can tailor the risk management framework according to their need. But some of them I have given here. In a planning phase, someone should be doing the risk assessment. What are all the key consideration part of the risk assessment is, again, the fundamental is the asset. AI assets are different. Infrastructure asset which supports AI ecosystem needs to be assessed properly, and uh, data or raw data needs to be looked at. How do we do classification of data, sorry, AI components? Like, it could be a data, it could be a model, it could be artifact, something. So all those needs to be classified properly. Once classified is done, then, probably map it to high, medium, low, or the criticality. And organization should maintain the risk register. There is a trick between the traditional risk assessment or risk management versus AI risk management is AI is evolving more and more day by day. So the risk assessment also should be done as and when it is required. Or I would say more regularly, someone should do the risk assessment so that they can stay focused on if there are any risks. These are all some of the consideration during the planning phase. Again, how do you define AI use cases? As we discussed in slide one, there are many use cases, right? So at a planning phase, the team should be aware how the AI is being used. Data privacy review is another one, where they have to consider how data is being handled, entire data life cycle, from processing to from restoration to deletion. How do we do that? And what type of data is being fed, whether it is accurate data or not. These are the consideration part of the planning. Stakeholder is definitely, we should notify because they know what is being developed, whether it is in line with the business objectives. So all these comes in, planning phase. However, in development phase, model documentation. When we say model documentation, architecture diagram is most important part of it, and how the training model is developed, what are all the other process involved in doing all these things, needs to be captured part of the model development. And performance validation is another key consideration. Like, when you develop a AI system and model is trained and it is out there on a production, then parallelly you are building another second set of trained data or a model, whether both are behaving properly or as expected. Are there any performance degradation if we upgrade from model 1 to model 2? There are many dimensions to look at, but some of the scenario I'm trying to address here. A security assessment is again key consideration. Apart from risk assessment, the team should do the security assessment. If it is a pipeline, then they should integrate within the pipeline, do the security assessment. If it is outsourced, then someone should look at whether the outsourced company is in line with your risk management and compliance framework. These are all the some consideration. If we look at the compliance, then definitely the gap analysis between the regulatory requirement. Probably take a, NIST AI risk management framework, use that, and if there is a 27001, then do the risk assessment whether everything is fitting into the framework. If there are any gaps, how do we address gaps? Ethics review is another part needs to be looked at. Documentation with respect to the existing policies, and specifically uh, create a policies which aligns to the AI risk management framework. Then regularly review with legal. Are there any legal implication if there are changes in the AI model or any major change in the AI application? So legal team should know, are there any risk involved in that? Definitely, again, as I touched based earlier, monitoring is major key domain to look at. For example, on a production testing, continuous monitoring helps them to stay ahead. Regular audit. A regular audit is something definitely a point to note down, because the more you do regular internal audit, that gives more confidence that things are working properly. And incident response. Incident response is major chunk where team should be elevated to how do we handle breaches with respect to AI if something goes wrong, and from process to containment to eradication to how do we uh, uh, do a problem management out of it, right? So all these are key consideration. Uh, Overall, if we perform the risk management and compliance. Okay, now look at the AI governance. Uh, Ideally, one should develop the comprehensive data governance or the AI governance more precisely, what it should contain. One is AI ethics committee. So, establish a separate committee so that they are separate from the entire AI development so that they can look at from different angle, different dimension, whether everything is working as it is intended. And transparent AI systems. This is another key to consider. There is something called black box. Black box is nothing but everything works in silos. No one knows how AI is built, how AI is fed, whether it is giving the right information or not. Opposed to that, transparent AI or explainable AI, which tells auditors that this is how AI is working, this is how the data is fed, this is the right data we are giving it to the AI. All these comes in picture. And data governance, again, definitely, create a policy, procedure, process. How do you manage the data governance? Uh, Data governance, when I say there is one more big challenge is nowadays there are lot of AI applications. So how do we handle the organization? Let's say developers, let's say another department, they are using AI. So when they are using those applications, they they might end up feeding some of the organization data. How do we safeguard those? How do we detect those? So we should be having very stringent data governance policies. Then then comes the continuous compliance, where we have all these things. We need to continuously monitor whether all are in line with compliance. Uh, if it is in a development, probably compliance as code is something need to look at. Primary control, secondary control should be in place. Like you have implemented something, and you need to do the recheck frequently. That is secondary control. So the more you do that, the more you can stay ahead. Uh, Secure by design is one more again concept where initially you should involve security teams so that they know what is happening and how what will be the end result from starting. So all these things are part of the AI governance. Okay. Uh, I will try to be cognizant of time, but if I'm over exceeding, do let me know. Let's put all together in a simple 5 steps. I will not take much of a time. Everything we discussed. And this is just a simple framework. Maybe organization can tailor according to their needs. One is early involvement of information security and team compliance team, their internal team, so that they know how the AI is being developed, what is the project plan. Then again, they will do the risk assessment, so they know which risks are there. And if something is introduced within the project, then again they should be doing the risk assessment more thoroughly, entire AI life cycle, throughout the life cycle. Then as I said, establish a strong governance, policy, procedure. All those things should be in place, and definitely stakeholders are one which needs to be looked at all these things. Regular training and awareness. It's not only a developer or it's not only a security compliance team. It is everyone within the organization should have awareness of using the ethical AI. If we are building some AI product, then team should or everyone should know whether they are using it in direct or indirect way. So they should use ethically. So regular training is needed in terms of skills, in terms of conducting ethically on the AI side. Definitely, continuous monitoring is the other stuff need to be looked at. This is overall, few simple steps to create AI deployment framework. Okay, some of the best practices. There are many more best practices, but some of them are definitely, the the financial firm must align with AI initiatives, right? Since there are many regulatory requirements are coming. Also, all these GDPR, CCPA, or PCI DSS, or maybe 27001, these standards, regulatories are evolving themselves to align with AI. So one should look at regularly how are there any new amendments. Then the team should look at those amendments and try to incorporate those amendments. As I said, collaboration is another best practices to adopt. Regular internal audit, testing, and governance are the key components for sustainable AI deployment. Definitely, ethical use of AI is one more best practices for handling secure financial data. I think these are the few things I've covered. There are many more to cover within the financial services, but I will open it for Q&A.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Shyam. That was really great. It looks like we're just at time or slightly over, so I don't know that we have a lot of time for questions. But what I would recommend is I'll just paste a couple of links in the Q&A section. But folks can reach out via the contact form on the Celestial website with any questions. And then I would encourage anyone joining or watching the recording after the fact to follow us on LinkedIn to be updated about future webinars. So yeah, I think we can wrap things up now. Yeah, I want to thank everyone again for joining. We're really glad you could make it today. Sean, thanks for a great presentation, and yeah, we hope to see you on our next webinar.
Yeah, thank you. And to a closing thing, again, I'm stressing on AI for security, security for AI. This is something a key take. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.